Welcome to the Accelerate America Collective Weekly Campfire. I'm Leslie Youngblood, and today I'm joined by an amazing entrepreneur. I truly hope you enjoy hearing their experiences and life path. Listen in. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today for our weekly campfire with Gabriella Payne. We are going to get started here. So everybody in the audience that may be new, our weekly campfires are our live interactive podcasts. Gabbi and I are up here on the stage, and while you're in the audience, we still want you to be part of the conversation today. Gabriella Payne, you are the CEO and founder of the Boss Blueprint Agency, a branding agency based in Washington, D.C. With a unique approach that combines the tactical with the creative, Gabriella has served over 50 privately owned small businesses in the areas of branding, marketing, and strategic planning since launching in 2017. Her rare ability to morph and think from other people's perspectives has been key to growing her agency, and it also provides her with a continuous, fresh perspective as an entrepreneur. Gabriella loves what she does and makes it a priority to share what she's learned with fellow business owners, which she'll definitely be doing here today. Everyone, please welcome Gabriella Payne to the Weekly Campfire. Welcome, Gabbi. So do you prefer Gabriella or Gabbi?
Gabbi works just fine. I feel like it's a lot
Gabbi.
shorter too, so that's
Awesome.
helpful.
Love it. Love it. All right, Gabbi, we are so excited to pick your brain a bit and learn about your journey. You and I have spoke previously, and you told me how you've been in business since 2017, and previously the company was Payne Consulting. You did business retreats and conferences, and it started as a community initiative. And you love to do the consulting, like the marketing and the branding, but you really saw the company take off when you focused on the branding. And I would love to know why you think that is, and what is it about branding that really resonated with your clients and yourself?
Well, I think the biggest thing about what I was doing is I didn't realize what I was doing at the time. I didn't even know that branding existed. I just knew that I was really good at identifying where businesses belong. I was really good at helping them understand what services and products they should be offering. I know that there's like this famous saying, I can sell salt to a snail. Well,
Sure.
how about you sell salt to a chef instead, right? So I think that's always been my focus. And I think helping people to identify like where they'll be appreciated most is always going to be something that people resonate with, because I think as business owners, we spend so much time trying to sell ourselves. It's super refreshing when we don't have to do that, and when people automatically see the value in what we provide.
Right. Yeah, that is so true. I think a lot of times too, selling or marketing is a concept that many business owners and just people, if you're not a salesperson or a marketer, are uncomfortable with, and maybe don't even know how to do, right? Like a lot of people didn't start a bakery because they liked marketing or selling, like they just liked to bake. So, I'm sure you've experienced a lot of that with some of the business that you've worked with. What are some of the like advice that you give to them, and what have you learned about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you definitely have to do what works best for you and what you're good at. I think that most people, what they're good at within that, they'll be able to find something about it that they like. And then those things that you don't like, those are the pieces of the business that you want to try to either automate or outsource. And so in the beginning, realize that you're going to have to do a lot of things that you don't like. And all that is teaching you about what are those things that you actually need to automate, and then later outsource, add the human touch. I just had a conversation with someone yesterday, and I explained to him, hey, automate first, add human touch second, because when you're introducing people into your business, a lot of people don't know this, and this is coming from my management consulting background here.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't know this, but it takes an employee 6 months for you to get ROI in most cases. And
Wow.
so what you want to try to do is go for a tech-enabled solution and then add the touch to it after. That way, you'll be sure that you can get that immediate ROI, that immediate time back on your plate, and add the person if it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, that is so smart. It makes so much sense when you think about it. But I think you're right. Like people might think, no, I need a person in and then I can automate later. And you also, touched on outsourcing there. I know business owners struggle with outsourcing, right? And maybe worry they don't want to give it to a bot or like just have something. Like how how have you worked through that, challenge of outsourcing and found something that works for you?
Yeah, so it's super exciting because I actually just launched my first internship program.
Yay.
And after trying, I mean, I have tried it all. I've had a
Mhm.
virtual assistant. I've worked with, different providers, but I found that right now is what works best. Will that work for me forever? No. And I
Mm.
think that's important to understand as well,
Mhm.
because outsourcing for me has changed over the course of the business just based on what's going on in the business. But the
Mm.
internship program has been really good for me because I'm really good at breaking things down to people. Um,
Mhm.
and from a personal perspective, I think emotionally, I have an emotional connection to the idea of internships because they
Mm.
did so much for my career. And
Right.
so it means something to me for me to be able to create roles where people can actually do things, not just getting
Mhm.
someone coffee or answering emails, but
Right.
really do things that can build their resume. And so that's what's worked for me. But
Mhm.
I do think that it's going to be individual. It's going to be based on the business model. And you're going to have to always understand, like I said, what are those things that you don't like that don't give you joy in your business? And
Right.
how can you automate or outsource those things?
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love what you just said about, internships, and that's something that was so important to you in your career and direction. And I feel like that's a perfect segue to the first question that the collective would like to have you answer. And so they chose the question, who were some of your early influences? Tell us, Gabby.
Oh, okay. Let's start from the very beginning.
Yes.
Shelly McLean was the first
Oh,
entrepreneur I worked for. She owned her own salon. And
wow.
I was a wash girl. I was a terrible wash girl, by the way. I was people wet. It was very bad. But I was only 13 years old. But she
Wow.
inspired me to want to pursue business. And she's still in business to this day. And
Wow.
I would say most recently, it hasn't really been a single person, but I
Hmm.
think when I see any person who is fully living and fully exploring like what they think they want their life to be like, that inspires me because I think it takes courage.
Hmm.
And I think that most people will stay where they're comfortable even if they're not completely happy. And so I think
Right.
I just like to take inspiration from the various people I run into. It could be
Hmm.
the teacher who's been teaching for 37 years but loves
Right.
it. I mean, loves
Right.
it, right? It could be the entrepreneur. It could be, people like my mom who
Hmm.
she's been working in the legal field for the past 30 years and she loves it. I
Wow.
mean, she'll talk you to death about it. So
Wow. Love
it's
it.
just you can find, I say this to say, you can find inspiration where you look for it. You'll find what you're looking for. And
Hmm.
so I think if you're always seeking for the best and you're always looking for the best that there is out there, you'll find it and it'll find you.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. I think that's so amazing. And I love so much that you were influenced by a female entrepreneur, at that young age. Did you even know? Did you like recognize that she was a business owner, and then did you think like I want to be an entrepreneur? Like how did that, resonate with you? I would just love to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I found like a really old journal of mine and I was 10 years old
Mhm.
and I wrote down and I don't know where I got this idea from to be honest. So this was 10. So before I even met Shelly,
Uh-huh.
um I wrote in my journal I want to be a business owner by 32. It didn't
Wow.
say what business, it didn't say how we were going to do it. It didn't
Right.
have any details. It just said I wanted to be a business owner by 32 and I wanted to
Wow.
work for myself by 32 and I was able to do it by 27 and I
Wow.
ran across the journal at 28, which was super cool.
Wow.
But the thing I think is it was never about like what I always tell people is know above all else what you want and be comfortable with the fact that the how is going to change as you go along the way.
Right.
As you've really, illustrated, I've been in 1,000 different business models. I've tried 1,000 different things. And I think what keeps you from being discouraged is recognizing that there are a lot of different hows. There are a lot of different ways you can go about it. And maybe the how that you're doing right now might not work, but another one might later, right?
Yeah. How do you know when it's time to change that how, Gabby, or like when one's not working?
Man, that is a hard one. So I'm gonna try to think through. I think the biggest thing for me was like people aren't coming, people aren't responding, people aren't like into it. And then the second thing for me, so this was my first business idea was an event planning business, and I had a terrible marketing plan for it. So looking back, I'm just like, yeah, I see why that didn't
What
work.
was it? Why was it so terrible?
It was too cash heavy. So my idea was to throw events and show people that what kind of events I could throw, and therefore they would hire me to be an event planner. It cost way too much. You know what I'm
I
saying?
love
There were
it.
so many more easier ways I could have went about it.
Sure.
But hindsight is 2020,
Of
and it
course.
was a part of the journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so from there, I continued to throw events, but I focus on business events. So like I said, I still was doing events. I was just doing business events because I realized, what I care about most is like people's transformation through these
Right.
events. So I will say the next thing that will tell you to shift is like if there's a certain part of your business that you really just want to lean into deeper. And that was my next shift. And then that same thing caused my next shift, which was, hey, this is really cool, but I really want to see long term how these people can be impacted. I really want to follow the journey along with them. I want us to grow together. And then that
Right.
led me to creating the consultancy, the
Mm.
agency side of the business.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, it was okay, I'm doing business, but I really, really noticed that people are responding to the branding. So let me just do that. The branding and the social media, let's lean into that. Right.
Right.
And now, from there, it was okay, let me create these programs. So right now I have strategic planning for a lot of my corporate teams and stuff. So those with, 2 or more partners and sometimes even single member companies I work with there. And then my branding programs, which are largely for beauty entrepreneurs, right? And that was just by virtue of who I was attracting. So there will be indicators. It's just up
Yeah.
to you to really, I always tell people don't get stuck in the execution hamster wheel, that you never are taking a step back to look at your business and see what it's telling you.
Right. The clues along the way that
Mhm.
are maybe more obvious, but you're so like caught up in needing to go, go, go and do and survive that maybe you miss it. I love that.
Mhm.
That's so true. So I feel like another good segue to the next question that the collective selected is, when did you know it was time to go 100% in on your business, Gabby?
Man, well, I'll say when you say 100%, I'm assuming that you mean full time, but just in case you
Yes.
don't mean that,
Yeah.
um, I'll say, you got to be 100% from the beginning in terms of effort.
Oh, very
Um,
good point. Very good
from
point.
the very beginning, like you
Mhm.
have to treat it like that because you've got to realize you're building that brand from the moment you say, I have a business, you're building that brand. So
Right.
whenever you're talking about your idea or your business, like never call it a side hustle, never
Mm,
say my little thing, never say
mm.
my little hobby, like never say that. Just get
I
yourself
love it.
out of that tendency
Mindset.
from the very
Yes.
beginning, because you get mad when you raise your prices and then people are like, well, I thought this was a side hustle, but you
Right.
told them that, right? And so this
Right.
is why a lot of people have to come to me to rebrand, because from the very beginning they've been sending the wrong messages about
Ooh.
their enterprise, right? This is a business. Like there's a reason why whenever I say the boss blueprint, I say agency, because I want
Right.
people to understand like this is an enterprise. This is not
Right.
something I do on the weekends. This is not a hobby. This is real. So I would say, first and foremost, watch how you talk about your brand. Because how you talk about your brand is how people will hear it.
Right.
And the second thing, when it comes to going full-time in your business, is always going to be a number. One of the things that really caught me by surprise, and Leslie and I talked about this, the mental piece of running a business. Like, the last thing you want, it's hard enough, and there are not enough words, books, or anything that can express just the mental journey of transitioning to full-time. And I tell you that not to scare you, but to let you know, like, hey, don't add anything else on your plate in terms of stress. So you want to look at your expenses, and you want to say, what are my expenses to live, not survive, to live for anywhere from 6 to 9 months. I left at 4 months, but I was also debt free, right?
Gotcha.
So it was a little bit of a different situation for me. And I was also having some capacity constraint issues, so I kind of had to go. But the other thing I want you to make sure you do that I didn't do is also make sure that you have that same amount for your business. So make sure you have your 6 to 9 personal, and then 6 to 9 for your business. And then that way you can focus on listening to your business. When I say listening, you can focus on metrics. You can focus on what's working. And then you won't feel pressure to take on clients that are not good for the business. You won't feel pressure to throw offers out there that you know aren't fully flushed out, right? And so it'll just kind of help you to remain in integrity to your business, be true to your business, be true to your audience. And also it'll allow you to be patient, to let things kind of play out. I think for my business, I would say it took me a good 9 months to make sense of everything. I thought I knew it all until I was in it. And once I got in it, I was like, oh man, there's so many things that are just not right. And so I'm just going to say, prepare yourself those 9 months. And that's how you know. I think, like, if you're depending on like your living situation, like I know when I first left my job, I was still living at home with my dad. And that worked for me, right? That really worked for me because that's one less expense I have to worry about. But like, think about all the different things and be willing to make like the little sacrifices. Like, I could have went and got an apartment. I could have went and bought a house, but I was willing to make some temporary sacrifices just to make sure that I could focus on building this business without being distracted by other things.
Right. Yeah. I think that's so true. And, you know, to circle back to even something you said, it allows you to not take on those clients that maybe aren't the right fit. And I feel like that's such a common issue that maybe a new business owner might struggle with, where you just want to succeed. And so you'll do anything to make it happen. But then you might find yourself in a bad relationship with a customer, or, you know, doing a job that you should have taken more money for. And so I think that when you have those like monetary parameters in place and you have that cushion, it like allows you that freedom to do what's right and that feels right for you. So I just think that's so on point what you said about that. Did you ever have a client that you took on that maybe you're like, oh wait, you don't have to say names even, Gabbi. Like, did you ever experience anything like that?
Definitely not say names, Leslie.
No.
So yeah, I mean, it's happened more than once. And I think it's going to happen, right? So I think if you hear nothing else, like I want you to hear, give yourself grace to learn. Right? It's not even to make mistakes, it's to learn, because a mistake is like, oh, I knew what I was supposed to do and did something else, but it's just like, no, you literally don't know. Accept the fact that you don't know. Be okay with the fact that you don't know. And yeah, I've had to, you know, end some client relationships. The one thing I would tell you is make sure it is on paper, where all the deliverables are signed off on. Prior to doing that, just to make sure that you're legally covered. And this is I'm not an attorney or anything, so I'm just telling you what I would do, because you know my mom is in the legal field. But
have you? Does she start charging you for business advice, Gabbi? She's like, no, you can't afford me, daughter.
Still works for free, surprisingly. You know what I mean? I think it's more of an investment type of thing. You know what I'm saying? She's just like putting in her seed funding.
She sees your potential and she knows like nobody else. A mom knows her kid's potential. So I love that.
Oh, but the whole thing about, difficult clients, I would say any person who is causing you emotional distress, you got to get rid of that client. Try your best to end it amicably. All the clients that I have had to end contracts with, we have all ended amicably. And sometimes it's not the client, sometimes it's the way you're working with the client as well. And so there are clients where I've worked with them in one way and it absolutely didn't work, and they came back for a different product and it worked perfectly. Gotcha. So you know what I'm saying? Like, stay open, don't burn bridges, try not to react off of emotion too much, and really focus on doing what's best for the business 20 years from now.
Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. All right, everybody, we have dropped our last poll in the chat for Gabbi. But the last winning question, Gabbi, that the collective would like to know is, what was a defining moment for you?
Man. Okay. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and I'm going to speak about what I think is going to happen in the future.
Ooh, yay.
And
Speak
so
like spelling, put it out there. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So, I, within the past year, have been blessed to get 2 amazing mentors. One of which specializes in helping people sell their businesses to private equity firms. So she's trying to set me up for that. Wow. Right. So getting that like foundational advice is super helpful. And then I have another who is just super interconnected in the business community locally here. And one thing I'm learning is that, number one, the first mentor I got through SCORE. So I would definitely recommend SCORE. And I've heard mixed reviews from SCORE, but what I will tell you is like I said earlier, like, know what you want. And if it's not what you want, like, go get something else. Right. Okay. So the other mentor though, and this is, I think, huge. He just saw my posts on LinkedIn. Wow. And she said, I like what you're doing. Let me help. And so I say that to say, like, sometimes it's really about being resourceful and starting with what you have, because at the right time, the right people will come find you. And when you have the right people vouching for you and connecting you, your business will just blossom. And I mean, even I would say this week, I've been given introductions that are worth millions. Wow. And so that is because of my mentors, right? So it doesn't matter so much like sometimes how good you are or how much you market on social media. Having that person who's willing to put their name on the line for you is going to go so much further. And so the way that you can go about getting those mentors and attracting those mentors is just really by doing your absolute best at all times. Because when people see that, they're going to know that they can trust you with their name. And that's super, super important.
Yes, definitely. I think you are spot on there. And I feel like I read somewhere recently where you can't discern like the success of a business or your business by your followers on social media, right? Like that is what one small piece of like such a larger pie. Yes. And how you just, said, it's so many about like your network and, like your network is your net worth. And I love that with your mentors too, that you sought one out and found one through SCORE. You were seeking mentorship and then another one found you. And so I just think it goes to show you that, because you think, how do I find a mentor? How do I find that relationship? How do I find that person that's going to help me? You got to do all the things, right? And then allow that person to find you. So I think that's, so amazing. All right. And we have the last question from the collective here for you guys. Even though this is the last question you voted on, feel free to drop any follow-up questions for Gabbi in the chat. We have about 5 more minutes here. So Gabbi, the collective wants to know, what is the biggest change in you since becoming a business owner?
Man, the biggest. So many. Okay. I would say it's the mental shift, like I said, the what, not the how. Like really being dedicated to the what. Like, what am I trying to accomplish? Like, and then zoom out like by 3, right? Because I'm sure as entrepreneurs, we can be very specific. Like, I want to be on this cooking show. Or I want to be featured on this talk show, right? Maybe that is our accolade. Or I want to serve 1,000 X type of clients. But sometimes you can be in your own way. Because if I was just stuck to, I'm going to build a business and work for myself, I'm going to build an event planning business and work for myself, I will probably still be out here throwing events, losing money.
Well, I hope not.
I think if you are just, the more dedicated you are to the what, the more resourceful you'll become. Because you'll be focused on getting there and not how you'll get there. And you'll be willing to try things. You'll be willing to fail. You'll be willing to say, hey, that doesn't work. Let's try another how, right? So I think the biggest change has had to be my flexibility. I'm flexible with how it goes. I'm flexible with how it happens. How I thought my business would grow last year is not how I think it will grow this year. You know, like there has been a whole new group of target customers that have been reaching out to me that I never, ever thought about working. Never. Right. And so I think like understanding that it may not happen exactly how you want it to, but just always kind of put that effort in and try to make it to that next step and that next step and that next step. That's absolutely key. That's been my biggest mindset shift, and it's freed me so much to just do and do things that seem right for the business at the time.
Right. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's a great answer. And I have to say, as a final question, Gabbi, what is next for you and the Boss Blueprint Agency?
Man, so right now we literally just reopened the doors to our branding accelerator program. I closed it for a while because I was actually taking a branding class because I wanted to do the program a little bit. So I took a class with the IE Business School in Madrid. And was able to just get some really helpful information to beef up that program a little bit. And so that's reopening. I am doing our private business retreat in September in DC. And so that's super exciting. It's our first in-person event under the Boss Blueprint Agency. And so it's really, really cool. I am also really getting involved in doing business locally with the community. That is, like I said, this is that market segment that I didn't see coming. But the level of demand is so out of this world. I could have never guessed it.
Wow.
So there are a lot of moving parts, I'll say. But I think the biggest thing to expect from me is that I'm always going to be educating myself and educating you all.
Yes.
You're following me on my social platforms about what is latest and greatest. And I'm always working to make that information as relevant and fresh as possible. And so whether it's, the strategy you come for, the social media you come for, the branding you come for, you can just definitely expect that we're going to be continuing to create communities of business owners that are really just the best of the best. We have on our website where excellent brands come to grow and scale. And that's truly what I think will continue to be, is the place where people who are just not satisfied with the bare minimum come. So that's what you can expect.
Awesome. The sky's the limit, I know, for you, Gabbi. That's love it. And then I want to ask, where can we learn more about these accelerators and the courses that you're offering. So, anybody that's in the collective that's maybe in your area or anything that's virtual, where can they learn more and get some information?
Sure. So the first place you can always find us is on Instagram at Boss Blueprint Co. And you'll be able to find more about our Branding Accelerator program there. You can also go to our website, www.thebossblueprint.co. And you'll be able to find information on the accelerator and also on our private retreat in the fall. And I'm also heavily active on LinkedIn. And so I do my 2-minute Tuesdays there. So if you're ever just looking for more of the strategy piece, that's probably the best place for you to find me. So I do try to segment them a little bit so that each network kind of provides different kinds of value.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you. And Michelle just dropped in the chat the link to your website. Again, everybody check out Gabbi's IG at Boss Blueprint Co. and find her on LinkedIn for her 2-minute Tuesdays. I will be tuning in. Gabbi, thank you so much for joining us today for this weekly campfire. It was such a pleasure, and we are so excited to have you as part of the collective, and we will definitely be talking to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us today. Have a great day. See you next week.
If you'd like to join the Accelerate Collective and attend future campfires, visit accelerateamerica.com/join and check out our future guest at accelerateamerica.com/campfire. Take care.